Hello everyone, greetings of the day. Welcome you all for the fifth video of learning Swift programming language. So these are the topics that we have covered in the video 1, video 2, video 3 and we have video 4. Let's start with new topics today. Now we are going to see about the closure. This is an important topic and it will be very confusing as well. So you may need to see these videos again and again to for better understanding. See, we have defined example 1 and example 2 and we explicitly mentioned its type as well. Example 1 is a string and example 2 is a integer and we have just provided the value. Like this, we can pass a function as a data type. Here, that is what we are explaining as closure. Swift allow us to use functions just like any other type, such as this string and integer. Functions used in this way are called closures. I will show this in an example. See the example 3. For example 3, the type I have mentioned is a function. Here I have explained as the type is a function that return null. That is, nothing is returning from this function. See, if I delete this, based on this value, we can know that option click, we know that this is a string. Similar to this, if I delete here, option click, we know that this is an int. Similar to this, if I delete this type, by just mentioning this, we'll be knowing that the type, that is example 3 is a function that is returning void or null. Nothing is returning from this function. This is what example 3. Here I have provided a function body without a function name and I have called the example 3 here. When I print this, I'm getting the result as a closure. This is similar to the normal function. See here, I have provided an example for function as well. This is a function and here this is a closure. When I print this, I'll get the result as like this. Both are similar, closure and functions, but where we want to use the closure and where we want to use the function is based on the demand of code. Developers will decide where we want to use that based on the requirement, that based on the projects we are having. And on a high level, closures are commonly used for short, focused tasks, while functions are more versatile. When we check the definition of closure, we will get that closures are functions that can pass around as parameters. So let's see that in code. In the previous video, we have seen functions with parameters. See, this is the function with parameter and we are providing the parameter name as param and this is of type string. This is the function body. Here I have mentioned a variable called greeting and I'm passing that greeting as an argument to this function. This is the function call. If we print this, we will get the result as hello playground will be printed. So this function with parameter that we have studied in the previous video itself. Let's relate this to the closure now. See here, as I informed, I need to pass a function as a parameter. So instead of passing this variable, I have changed this variable into a function. See, I have defined greeting as a variable here. Now I commented that and making that variable into a function. Say this is a function that has a return type of string and we are returning a string value. This function I'm calling as a parameter. See, when I pass this function as a parameter, I'm getting an error that the actual function here expecting a string, but we are passing here a function. So in order to clear this error, we need to provide an open close parenthesis. Now this error will come. This is because we are calling this function here itself. So when I provide the greetings open and close parenthesis, immediately this function will get executed and the string value will replace here, and I'm passing param as a string value now. After that it will print here. If I print this, I'm getting the same result as hello playground. But I don't want the execution of this greeting function need to happen here. Also, I need to pass it as a function. So the type of param I need to change here. So here I have mentioned as a string. So I'm changing this as I'm getting a function with a return type of string. So here I have mentioned as this param is a function that will have a return type of string. This is the same here. Greetings is a function that has a return type of string. So I am providing this function name alone, not the function call. So in this in this function call, I am providing the parameter as a function. But here is the actual call is happening. So in this function call, I'm just passing the function and it reaches here, and inside the function body, the actual function call is happening. That is, the greetings is calling here. See, I didn't touch the main function and the function call. I'm just simplifying the syntax here. So this is the function that we have explained before that has a func keyword, function name, return type as string, and the function body. This function I'm converting into as a closure. See, just for a variable greeting, I'm assigning this function body. I have mentioned a return type as well. This is the closure. If I click on this greeting option, I'll get the type as this greeting is a function that has a return type of string. See the same. It is a function that has a return type of string. I'm passing this closure here and this call reaches here and I'm printing this. While printing, I'll be executing this greeting and returning the string value. That string value will get print. We'll get the result as the same hello playground. So far, we have seen a basic closure. In this, we have seen that closure that accepting parameter. See, I have defined the same function that is accepting one parameter name, same defined for the greetings as well. But for the functions, before this body, we'll be mentioning the return type as well as the parameter type. But in closure, after the assigning inside this function body, we are defining. So this is the parameter and this is the type. And after providing the in keyword, we are returning it. So whatever the parameter we have provided for this closure, that will be used inside this return. In this function call, again we are providing a parameter that is the closure greetings, and this call will reach us here. Previously we have mentioned this as an empty, that is a function that will return a string, but this closure is accepting a parameter. So we need to mention that string, this is the parameter type, and that is returning a string. When it enters here, this is the actual greetings call is happening. This greetings call is happening here. For that, we are providing a parameter, that is this John. When this call happens, it will execute here, and this John will be mentioned here. Hello playground, this is John. So when we execute this, we will get the result as hello playground, this is John. If we want to check again the type of this closure option, click on greeting. It's mentioning that it is accepting a parameter of string and returning a string value. The same here, it is accepting a string and returning a string value. That's why we are passing this greeting in this function call. If we need, we can explicitly mention the return type as well here, even though it is not mandatory, because anyways we are returning a string here. See, this is the same here as well. In this function also we are accepting one parameter and return value is string. In this closure also, the parameter we are accepting, return value string. Instead of passing function, we are passing this as a closure now, and the call for function and closure is same. I hope you got a clarity about what is closure. Here just for us as a summary I have provided here. So initially, the closure that not accepting parameter and not returning anything. This is the closure of example 1. And the closure that accepting parameter and not returning anything. Here we are accepting one parameter and that parameter I have been used inside but not returning anything. And the third one is closure that accepting parameter and returning as well. See, we are accepting one parameter and returning a string value as well. I have provided the return keyword. As I said, calling the closure is similar to the function, but the major difference is while calling a closure, we don't want to provide the argument label. That is, if this is a function, for this example 2, we need to provide param and then we need to mention the argument. But since this is a closure, we don't want to provide the argument label. Directly the argument we can pass it. If I print this, we'll get the result as initially print hello will be printed, and then in example 2 hello plus the parameter what we have used. In the example 3 I didn't use any print statement, I'm just using the return statement, so that I'm using the print here. If this get called, this segment will get replaced with this string value welcome and the value I have provided Jake, and that I'm printing here welcome Jake. The next topic in closure is trailing closure. I have used the previous example that we have learned, that is the function that accepts a parameter and the parameter type is a closure, that is it's a function with a return type of string. While calling the function, it is asking that for this param we need to pass a function that accepts that return string. So I can pass the greeting here. If the last parameter to a function is a closure, in Swift we can use a special syntax called trailing closure syntax. See, for this function we are having only one parameter and that is a closure. But if we have multiple parameters and in the last parameter is a closure, then we can use the trailing closure syntax. I'll show you how to use the trailing closure syntax now. While calling this function func with param, If we enter or return again, it will be turning into trailer closing syntax. See, see this function calling now. If we click on enter, it will be changed like this because we have only one parameter here, so that we can directly provide here. We don't want to explicitly mention a closure and we need to pass it. We can directly mention here itself. If I execute this function, I will get the result as hello world. It's coming from this function, and the greetings of the day, it's coming from the this function call. This is the trailing closure syntax. See, this function is having two parameters, that is param1 and param2. As I defined, the last parameter is a closure, that is the param2 is a closure. So we can use the trailing closure. Here I have used the normal syntax, that is for calling I have just mentioned the normal function call, that is the param1 I have provided the value, for param2 I have provided the value. Let's call the same function using trailing closure syntax. Here we need to provide the value for param1, and after that, after clicking this param2, if we click on return again, it will change to the trailing closure syntax. Here we can directly enter the return value. I'll get the value as func with param. Here I have two results, like param1 value and the param2 value here, that is the greetings. I mean the hello world will be printed, and for this function call I'll be getting the value as 2 and then John, how are you? This is the trailing closure syntax. With this we are wrapping our session for today. Thank you.